Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about a little bit of continuation related to Christmas topic, but about the concept of karma related to abundance and money, and how people mess up their karma when they don't understand what it is that the money or abundance they have access to. When that is given to them, what is it meant to show up as karmically in their life in the best aligned, highest aligned path for them. So, for example, if someone is a person who is socioeconomically considered to be the lower 10 percentile of a population group, at that time, if you are in the lowest 10 percentile of earning population of a particular country, so I live in Navi Mumbai, and let's say in Navi Mumbai someone I know is in the lowest 10th percentile who's not earning anything, who also doesn't have access to any finances. At that time they will be considered realistically and karmically in a percentile of the population who is financially disadvantaged. And it doesn't matter, there could be some person who could be having like a grandparent who has left them something as their property. But let's say your grandparent has left something as your property for you, but your family didn't pass on that message to you. Your intermediaries who are meant to have negotiated that thing that the grandparent left for you, but the intermediaries didn't share that information with you. Then even if or according to the human laws you may possess something that is valuable, if that information didn't come to you, if you don't, and after getting that information also, if you don't technically and legally have access to any of those finances or financial assets, you are still in the eyes of God a financially underprivileged person only, because human laws do not matter to God, and we are here on earth. While we are living a human life, we are here and on earth to do certain things karmically. On the other hand, if you do indeed have access to someone's property, maybe you are sharing a bank account with someone, at that time also, if you are sharing a bank account with someone and you know why you are sharing that account, but you have not provided the access to that account to the person who you were supposed to share that account with, again the person it was meant to be shared with, it could be two spouses who were meant to share an account, it could be a brother and sister who could be sharing an account, it could be a father and daughter who could be sharing an account. But if you do not provide all the necessary information related to that account sharing, and why that account has been created, or what is the higher purpose of the account, whatever was going on with that account, if you're unaware what is going on with that account, again you can't be karmically considered as a financially privileged person, even if you could have possibly crores of money or lakhs of money in your account. And the simplest thing example of this was something I realized in my personal life. Through my personal life only God has taught me these lessons that I'm trying to teach in via this video. So in my personal life there was a joint account. It wasn't actually even a joint account, but now I'm realizing it wasn't a joint account. Someone who wanted to financially abuse me or oppress me or create some financial manipulation related to my karma did this, or a group of people did this, which I don't know how it happened, why it happened, what exactly happened related to my past. But for me, when I was growing up, one time when I was a child, less than 10 years age, my dad took me to the bank, and he said that sign here, and it was a bank account that was apparently created in my name. And obviously, being a minor, I can't operate that account, and because I was a minor, I can't operate that account. It was being operated by my father. And I, being a child and also a person who's not financially really super, when you're a child, you're not thinking about money as such. And even if you do end up thinking about money as a child, you will only end up thinking about money if your parents give you financial access, or if your parents teach you how to use finances. At that time you might think a little bit of money. So in children's homes, where let's say sometimes parents keep a piggy bank for their kids, and occasionally relatives would give them 100 rupees as a gift during birthdays, or sometimes their parents would give them some change to put in the piggy bank, or a grandparent might give some money. It gets, usually when you are a young kid, this was what was going on when I was growing up. Nowadays what younger kids do and their parents do with their kids, I don't know, but or mostly I don't know. When I was growing up, that is the maximum money access I had. So I had a piggy bank that was given to me by some cousin or someone, and there was a few years when I collected some money in that piggy bank. It had a couple of 100 rupees in it, 500 rupees or some 50, 60, like that. Very minor amount of few hundreds of rupees were collected on it eventually after I opened that piggy bank, because at that time parents would give you only 1 rupee, 2 rupee, at least my parents were that way, or my grandparents or other family would occasionally give 10 rupees, 50 rupees as gifts. So that was what was collected for a few years, and again, because it had only a couple of 100 rupees in it, it was actually in my family I had hardly any financial access to any money until I actually joined college. And only when I joined college and I was in 11th 12th, we used to have to go to coaching classes, and for coaching classes I had a bus fare that I had to pay. So for the bus fare, a few 50 rupees, 100 rupees weekly was given to me for bus fare and occasional snacking in the evening during my classes. So that was the financial access I had in 11th 12th, after 11th, before going for 12th exams. So in 12th standard, this was the financial access I had. And then after 12th, when I joined college, in college also same way, I had bus fare and snack fare. Other than the bus fare and snack fare, and occasionally I would do grocery for my family, or do vegetable shopping, egg shopping, things like that for my family. So for that, a minor amount of money was always left in our home drawer, and that's all the money I had access to. And I was never greedy that I want a luxurious purse or like a normal teen, because I didn't handle finances. I didn't even care. Like occasionally I would wonder, okay, why don't I have as good a wardrobe as my friends who went to college. But I was not like a greedy person, so I didn't care if I didn't have a great wardrobe, or it didn't even occur to me that I should use more money than what I was given access to. And I never demanded anything from my parents that I need this and I need that. Whatever was provided, I took it, and I knew whatever they are capable of providing, I never asked them for providing anything that beyond that they are not capable of providing. But in the meanwhile, in the background, there was this joint account that was created when I was a 7-8-year-old kid, and I had no idea what was going on with that account. Joint account meaning I was the, and now when I was 18, after 18 years of age also, now I had this parent who was, I don't know what is wrong with my parent, but my parent, whoever raised me, and I don't even know whether they are biologically my parent, have been guided to by the universe to rethink that whether the person who raised me was actually my parent, or whether something else was going on, because multiple suspicious things were going on in my childhood, that as a child you take it as a very normal thing, but when you grow up you realize that this was a very weird childhood. No children I know had this kind of a childhood with them. So with me, what weird thing happened was, when after I turned 18 also, one time again my dad told me to go to the bank, and in that account he said, now they asked me for a clearer signature, because as a child I had only signed my something I had done as a child, and as an adult they wanted a better signature, they wanted an update. There were banking policies that the banks did to get my signature on that account. But again, at that time point also, even though I didn't know that that was a young account created for a child that I should have access to once I become 18 years of age, I didn't know anything regarding that account. And I didn't even get a simple debit card on that account associated with my name, even though I turned 18. So which is something I think governments in India and policies in India might want to address, about children's account created for children by their parents or their grandparents, and parents might have access as a primary caretaker for the child to that account. But even though parents have access to that account, sometimes parents can end up misusing their children's account. And I actually recently met another child about whose family history I found out similarly something similar happened to that child also, where I know that the parent is in my home. My parent was not a spendthrift parent, but even though my parent was not a spendthrift parent, they did also something financially oppressive and abusive. Whereas for this other child, their parent is a extremely spendthrift parent. So even though a account has been created for their child by their grandparent or other family to ensure that the child will have a good college life after the child turns 18, but the parent has been constantly going to the bank and withdrawing money from the bank and misusing the money that was kept by the grandparents to for the child to be for the child to use up when the child grows up. So this thing, it's an anecdotal thing because I don't have financial access to that person's banking information, but it mirrored something related to my own past reality, which now I'm realizing is what transpired with me, which is that so this account that I had in that bank, even when I turned 18, I didn't know it was only supposed to be my account, and my dad was only supposed to be a nominee in that account. I didn't even get a debit card or ATM card or credit card, nothing related to that banking. I did anything related to that banking until after I came back from US in 2015. After 2015 only, I finally started using that account and got a debit card issued for myself from that account. So from the time I turned 18 to 2015, there have been over almost like nearly a little less than 2 decades had passed, and in those 2 decades the only person who kept the account going was my father. But though, or whoever I allegedly think is my father, but though he operated that account and kept the account active for a while, for those many years, he never provided me access to my account information, access to a debit card associated with that account, access to the fact that the simplest fact that that account is only simply supposed to be my account. He was just simply supposed to be a nominee operator of that account. So in even 2015, when I came to India and I knew, oh, okay, I remembered that in childhood days and teen years after I had turned 18, I was possibly at that time 18 or 19 when I went to the bank to sign on it. And that too, I got to sign on that paper once the bank had initiated that action that this person's update needs to be there in this account. Otherwise, my dad would never have even done that with that account. And then when after getting that update also, I never got a debit card. I never had any access to any money related to that account. Consciously, in my conscious memory, I have no memory of using that account until 2015. And in 2015 also, when I went finally to the bank and we had to transfer the bank from where I grew up, it was in Mumbai that the account was originally created. And when I moved to, because my parents had retired and moved to Navi Mumbai, when our bank was transferred to Navi Mumbai, at that time my dad only went with me for that account because his name was there in the account. And I assumed that it is possibly a joint account created as a child, or I didn't know what kind of account was created as a child, why it was created as a child, what was the purpose of that account for being created when I was only 7-8 years old. I knew nothing about that. And then additionally, when my dad now went to the bank, he had the chance and he had the opportunity to actually give all these details because he was the one who has been operating that account on my behalf. But he didn't do that. And this is where now governments and banking and other systems need to understand how a child, even if a child has access to some account, or even if an adult adult female has access to some account doesn't mean necessarily that they are not getting financially abused, because I have an account written in my name but still financial abuse and financial oppression was going on. Because if something was created for me when I was a child and I didn't have legal rights to operate any accounts, and at that time if no parent gives you any information about your account, you can't do anything about that. But after you turn 18 also, legally, if whoever is your guardian, whoever was acting as your parent, whoever was the nominee for such a account doesn't tell the child that, hey, you know what, this account is actually not my account, I was only technically meant to be the nominee for that account. Now after 18 years of age, you are actually technically the real account holder and this is your account, and my responsibility for your account is done. It is up to you whether you want to keep me as a joint member in this account or not. This information who will give? A ethical parent will give, a ethical guardian will give, a ethical caretaker of a child will give that information to the child, that I was only responsible for taking care of you and this account until 18 years of age. But if someone is non-ethical, they're not going to tell you anything, which is what I faced. I didn't understand only until recently, in recent years it clicked, because of many other, some banking glitches was done by the banking professional. And the first banking professional had actually asked me, do you really want your dad in this account? And at that time I was trusting my dad. At that time I didn't know my dad was doing unethical things. At that time I didn't even know that whether this guy I'm living with is my dad or not my dad. Nothing I knew about that, my past. So because I didn't know anything about my past, I didn't realize anything was fishy in my past, I didn't realize anything was misconducted or unethically done around me in my past or in my present. I trusted my dad even though I was a mid 30s person at that age. I didn't see, I assumed that it was a joint account that had been created as a child. But later on, now it is striking to me it was not a joint account, merely because of how it was likely classified in the banking system. And in another banks, when I had moved again from one location of bank to the other, which was closer to my house, in that banking systems there was some glitch where the person now who was operating that banking system didn't know that I am supposed to be the primary account holder, and they had done some glitch in my account. And some major financial glitch has happened in my past. This much universe and God has made me aware. But I still, because I am not a person who understands why that account was created when I was 7 years of age, neither do I understand why someone who's acting as my dad is doing all these unethical practices, pretending to be my dad. Or even if he's really my dad, some people can be abusers of their own children, some people can be abusers and oppressors, who may not be even biologically related to someone, but they are not going to tell that to that person because they have a financial advantage there. And so this thing is very important for people to understand now in this age of firstly, because in this modern life there are actually many children like me, I feel, who have been raised by parents who have had access to the child's money but have not given their children the money that the child deserves. They've not, my dad never raised us in a way where I didn't even get, except for in that 7th year of my life, I think I had one or two birthday celebrations around 7-8 years of age. From that age to 18-19 years of age, never once has my family celebrated any birthdays, celebrated any festivals where, all these things that people normally do with their families, where you are sharing something. So when you do not have any finances and you behave as if you don't have access to finances, you feel your parent is very poor. But my parent was a government official, so being a government official, he legally had at least access to some money that he could share. If he didn't have legally access to any money, he had legal access to an account in my name that also likely had some money that he was meant to use. And I don't know whether he used it, or if he did indeed use it, it was only used for our basic necessities, which is feeding us money. Any bedding that was bought was also bought 15 20 when I was in my 20s, not 20s, when I was a 5 years 10 years old child. At that time, whatever bedding was bought, whatever beds were bought, whatever bed sheets were bought, whatever regular household items were bought, after 10 years of age, nothing new was bought, only related to many normal aspects of life that people, if you have, let's say, bought curtains for your homes at when the child was 5 years age. After 5 years of age, when you have access to no money, if you are a poor person, maybe you buy one curtain and you use that one set of curtains for many years. But let's say if you have some slightly more money, then that person will be using what, 2 or 3 sets of curtains they will have, and they will rotate the curtains, wash the curtains regularly, right? Same thing with the bed sheets. But whatever minimal things were bought for a particular household, after buying those minimal things, if the problem becomes a financial abuse or a financially oppressive situation for a woman or a household, is when the man doesn't end up renewing and replenishing any of the things or upgrading any of the things that need to be upgraded. So if the curtains needed to be upgraded, if the bed sheets new bed sheets needed to be bought, if new clothes needed to be bought, none of those things were functionally done by any of my parents. And whatever things we possessed in our house, we still have many things from 20 years, 30 years, 40 years also, that were bought by some people, but gifted by some people. But other than that, nothing new I have seen people purchase. Or when they do end up purchasing also, sometimes very harmful things are purchased by people in my family, because they are I have no idea the because. The because could be multiple reasons. It could be they are mentally ill, they don't understand what is good quality product. It could be they deliberately want to harm someone, and that's why they deliberately buy harmful products. It could also be when they buy, they just want to buy the cheapest product, because this is a habit someone has formed. Even if they continuously got financial progress, they got promoted in their workplace, they had higher ranking in their workplace eventually every few years, they have a pension account where steady flow of income is there. So even though people have had steady flow of income, even though people have had potential also of steady flow of income from multiple sources, they have not been, because they had fixed deposits. So from fixed deposits also you can get some steady income. When you have a house that you give for rent, for rental costs also you get steady income. So there are multiple sources of steady income that my parent had, but he still has never utilized at the level at which he's getting an income. He's not using that money at the level at which he has access to money. And he was the primary account holder for all the accounts that were jointly created with his wife, with his child, with his children. Everywhere he had multiple accounts, with joint accounts created with his children or spouse, but he never gave access to his children or spouse about those accounts. And now, as a result, while for me, my Indian accounts, there are many Indian accounts that I had zero. I never utilized the money in those accounts, because I didn't even know what was going on. And if anything was done also in those accounts in my name, maybe a card was issued in my name, but I never had access to that card also. Whatever was going on in that account for many years of my life, from 7 years of age to 2015, I think it was created in 1987 according to the bank records. So So from 1987 to 2015, I didn't access that account, utilize that account at all. And then from 2015 to I think in 2018 or 19, my card got stolen. And at that time, I had multiple health issues and other challenges crop up around that time. So from 2019, again, I hardly access that account, hardly use that account, only certain types of, because I didn't even have a debit card. And then once I got a debit card, I was so sick, I was forgetting my passwords because I was not going and using that debit card often enough to remember the passwords. So I've hardly from 2015 till now, I've hardly used that account. And even then, there is some glitch going on with that account that I don't know about, and for which now, if anyone is investigating me, wanting to fix this glitch, wanting to understand why this glitch has happened, or not just me but related to other children like me who are financially abused or oppressed by their parents or caretakers or other family, you must understand this, because this is important thing to fix the banking activities in a way where such abuse doesn't manifest in the future of humanity, or in the present, whoever is going through such level of abuse or oppression or lack of knowledge about their finances, so that they get to find out what is actually going on with them. And I'm a highly intellectual person, I have understanding of finances, I have an understanding of banking laws and regulations, everything. But how much ever I have the access to information, you must understand that when financial abuse happens, even a smart person can get abused by a high IQ and unethical person. And this thing happened in two levels for me. It just didn't simply happen in India with my Indian family, and in my Indian family I know that the abuse levels or related to finances has been going on from my grandparents' time. So if there are things my grandparents wanted to share with me which I haven't had access to. There are things my parents never wanted to share anything with me, but they had access to my finances which they never told me about. Or but an ethical parent would tell a child that this is what you have access to, this is what we will be using, or this has been created for your use. Now you have to understand, like, if the parent has provided money for that account, obviously whatever the, and I assumed when I was 7 years old that my parent had provided the access to that money. But let's say that money was not provided by my parent. Let's say the money was provided because of work that I was doing that I didn't know I was doing. Let's say it was provided as a result of gifts given to me by other family. Both those times, is it my parent who's meant to operate that account, or is it me who needed that financial access, especially after 18 years of age, when I was having financial trouble? Not just 18 years of age, when I had gone to US at 22 years of age, I from 22 to 25 years, 3 years I was doing my I was in a US program where I had got a scholarship based program. And when my scholarship went away, I went through a challenging phase of 1 year time when I didn't have access to any finances. So if I had some money in an account in India, shouldn't I have had the knowledge about that money in an account in India that was legally supposed to be mine? But my parent firstly never asked me what was going on with my financial health, because again, this person, even though this person has been in my life as a parent or a caretaker, they have never caretaken in a way a parent or a caretaker is meant to take care of someone, irrespective of their age. So now I feel the pain. That's why because of the fact that even if I had, like, let's say highly minimal amount of money, maybe my account had only 20,000 rupees in it or 30,000 rupees in it, but I don't know whether it was 30,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, whatever amount it was there in that account, that whole amount I never got access to. And there was one time he had asked my uncle to transfer some, like many Indians do this, where sometimes to go to foreign universities you have to show you have certain amount in your bank account. So before I went to US, at that time my uncle had transferred some money in this account. But whatever my uncle had transferred to me in this account, and my dad said this is related to your US related studies, that's why some money was transferred by my uncle to this account. But that money, my dad said, was given back to my uncle. So again, even though my uncle also might have officially transferred some money, and using that transfer of money he can say that, I gave some property rights to my niece, it is a false paradigm again. And these are the things where I want family law people to investigate these things. Because if, say, someone gave you 50 lakh rupees or whatever lakhs of rupees to show that they have obligatory given you a justified share of parental rights, but they haven't actually given it to you because they again took back the money from you, or again, the whole banking thing where my uncle transferred and when my dad transferred it back, that whole banking deal, I had no conscious memory, or I have not dealt with it only. That whole thing was done by my uncle. And in fact, this is the miracle that universe knew that some glitch was going on related to that account in the background. That's why when I went also for a visa interview, now most students that come from my colony and who have gone to those same visa interviews, because in my colony there are multiple engineering students also who used to go for visa interviews for higher studies in US. All of them, who I had spoken to, had told me that they were asked this question of showing how much finances do you have in your account. Whereas because I got a scholarship from a US university, they never even asked me how much I have in my banking. Because you understand, if I had got the visa and at that time if they had asked me what financial assets you had, and they had recorded these financial assets, they had asked for the financial assets in my bank and they had recorded it in my data, then then also people could say, okay, it has been recorded in your data that you had these lakhs of money. But I didn't, and they never ever took that information only for me. And because that information, again, my dad said this is the money that your uncle gave and I have returned back the money to your uncle, which is what was communicated to me. But again, if whoever communicates to me that this is what we have done for you, if now one or the other or both are being unethical about the money exchange that was going on, again, is it me who has any access to any of this money when I didn't even know that what was when I'm trusting other people to do the right thing, or I'm trusting that whatever you are communicating to me is exactly what is going on here. And secondly, because I was trusting of my family, and because again, while all my dad said was it was given back to my uncle, I never checked in my bank account, or whenever I came back to India, I never looked through that bank account to know what exactly is the money that was there in that account, whether my dad returned it to my uncle immediately, whether he took 3 years to return it, whether he took 10 years to return it, what he did, I have no clue. Because I had zero access. I was so wrecked up with my own problems in US about passing an exam, living a life in US, and financially feeling challenged there. I was so wrecked up and consumed by that problem, that, and it never even occurred to me that to ask my dad, do I have any money in my account? Because nothing, if no one gives you an information that, hey, this account is yours and whatever money is in this account is actually meant to be operated by you, if you don't have that information itself, that one time in 18 years of age when I had gone and signed that account, or 18, 19, whatever years of age I had gone and signed for that account, that one time I had taken a bank statement from that account again in when I was 22 years or 21 years. Apart from that, I just it didn't even occur to me that that is my account, that there should be some money in that account that I could legally have any access to using. So I assumed that it doesn't have any money. No one told me what money was there. I never myself checked what legal money I should possibly have in that account. And and literally I don't know whether in that account there were only $1,000 or 1,000 rupees in it and that's it, whether it had 1,800 rupees and that's it, whether it had 50,000 rupees and that's it, I don't know. It was just an account that was created, that was sitting there, and that's it. And then again, from 22 years of age to 35 years of age, the whole 13 years, whatever was done financially in that account, I had zero clue what was going on. So that was one thing, that was one aspect of financial abuse, oppression, manipulation that happened to me. And it is necessary for the world to wake up to these things, because there are women like me, children like me, who are also going through these same problems, same challenges, or even worse challenges than these. Because I have met unethical people who create accounts in their children's names and then accrue a lot of debt on their children's names, and then the children will be accrued with debt that they have no clue about, that the parent is accruing on their behalf. And second, and this thing I think potentially could have happened to me in US. And in US, what happened was, I got married again like a stupid and trusting person. I was asked to create a joint account with my spouse. And in the first joint account that was created, there was some I started asking the banking officials some deeper questions about that joint account. And the moment I asked just deeper questions about the joint account, while we signed the joint account and everything, at home suddenly my husband started fighting about that. Why were you asking questions? These are like, he wanted essentially for me to be a silent spectator of that joint account, not ask any intelligent questions, not ask what are the charges for these accounts, because there was some kind of charges associated with that account, like some, I don't remember exactly now all the terminology, because with money, because my life with money has been so manipulated by so many different people behind my back and in my personal life. Even though I am intellectually capable of understanding financial matter, otherwise I wouldn't have passed through a business school. I have intellectual capacity to understand some business jargon and business and legal terms. But while I have the intellectual capacity to understand it, I sometimes forget to retain business knowledge or finance knowledge, and it just simply slips away from my memory. So, because it slips away from my memory, what starts happening as a result is that I don't remember the details of anything. So what was the detail of that account, I don't know, but there was some charge that they were going to charge me. Like, let's say, if you accrue debt in your account, possibly it was something similar to that. That let's say you've withdrawn a lot of money, you're withdrawn like overdrawn by thousands, like $1,000 extra has been withdrawn from your account than you actually have. At that time, monthly $500 charges might accrue, or yearly $500 charges might accrue. Some $500 charge related thing was going to accrue in that account. So that is the part where I asked the banking official, because I was signing into a joint account, I need to know what is the detail, right? So that I understand what is going to happen with that account. And my husband at that time, he started shouting at me and creating a big drama. I didn't realize at that time, and I have made another video about the abuse that I was going through in that families, and psychological manipulation that they were doing with me, like the subtle manipulations. And like these people, some people who are like over smart, a high IQ people, they set up subtle steps of manipulation of your life. So this was a subtle manipulation step that this person did, where they started creating an argument about, why are you talking about finances in front of the banker. And one part was that they were talking in terms of a man who expects that the wife will do things according to a submissive wife, financially dependent wife, oppressive wife, uneducated wife. They wanted me to behave like that person who is uneducated, who is not questioning anything that the spouse does, because that is a habitual pattern of that family. They literally, I know this about that family, and they can sue me about it. I don't know whether they will or not, but I saw them do this unethical practice of, they had become American citizens, and they were as American citizens, they were they are allowed to vote in America, right? So when they were voting in America, they the husband was like, the father-in-law of that family, of my family, was the one who also voted on behalf of his son and wife. They also wanted to do it for me, but obviously I was not a citizen then, so they can't do that. But they showed that path to me, that this is what in the future they expect, that the father-in-law will say who they need to vote for. which is another form of abuse, which is another form of illegal thing that is happening there, which all of which can be used against this, should be used against this family. Anything illegal they have done, anything unethical that they have done, should be technically and legally used against them, because it is necessary that all these illegal stuff that is going on impacts the future health of a family. Now imagine if another granddaughter or grandson appears in that family, the level of manipulation of that child's life that they will be doing, and the level of fuck, my dad simply didn't even put any money in my account, but these people I know are capable of over withdrawing from an account. That's why he was upset. Now I'm realizing, how many years later I'm realizing what was the actual reason behind that argument I had with my spouse. Almost 10 years later, and this argument happened in 2014. So in 2014 I didn't know that the reason why, like, I assumed at that time when the fight happened, I assumed that he is propagating, his dad has already shown that whatever the man of the house does, that only goes for everyone else. So he is repeating that, and which is true. That assumption that I made was not a false assumption or a false conclusion, because the words that were used, the choices that they made after that, all showed that they were wanting that the wife should only stay like a silent partner in this joint account. And then because I had asked that question, and because this had now become a core memory where, they also tried using in that bank, they had got a locker in that bank, they also tried to coerce me into, they wanted me to put all jewelry that I got as gift in my wedding in that bank account. And when they asked me to put jewelry in that bank account, I did put all the jewelry that I received from that guy's family. And I had received majority jewelry from their family, some jewelry from my family, which was essentially some jewelry that my mother possessed, essentially some gifts that were given by my side of the family, but very minor level jewelry, very simple things like a small gold pendant or a little bit of gold in the jewelry. Or so for my side of the family, the gifts given by cousins and all were very minor jewelry. The one gift that was given by my dad was my mother's jewelry, and that was a major chunk jewelry, whereas their family had given their grandparents and other relatives old jewelry, some new jewelry. Everything that that family gave me, I put in that locker. And because, again, when you're newly married, you are not a very greedy person, you will comply with whatever the family is telling you to do. So I did put all the jewelry related to that in that account, but I didn't put my mother's jewelry there. But I had still trusted my husband that for many months my mother's jewelry was lying in their home. Some of my own personal jewelry that I had bought for myself, which were again very minor jewelry, because I'm not a very greedy person. So I had this much amount of jewelry in my name that I had bought for myself, like one necklace, one earring, things like that. So these few earrings and one or two pieces of jewelry given to me, bought by me, or something gifted to me by my grandparents, or my mother by my grandparents, those were the minor jewelries I had in my possession. So now this guy also during divorce did another manipulation. Firstly, that banking related thing, let me resolve that first account whose locker we had, where they wanted to coerce me into putting my mother's jewelry also in that banking, in that locker, and they were not going to give me access to that locker. That locker's access was going to go to my in-laws. So at that time, if it is going to my in-laws, I decided if my in-laws have access to that account, let my in-laws now keep the jewelry of that account that their family has given to me. So everything given to me by that family, I gave it, because I'm like, I'm not greedy, and this family gave me this jewelry. I don't care if I keep it or not keep it. Now, but because I had asked about the over withdrawing related credit card or banking charges, my husband then after a few months decided that I do not want to keep a banking joint account in this bank. Let's cancel the bank. So, and also because, as soon as possibly the financial abuse or oppression related recording has happened related to this jewelry also, if the bank stores these kind of data, from these data also they can help abused women, financially oppressed women, or financially manipulated women get back some justice if the banking system does record these things. So they took away their the joint account. He said, I don't want the joint account in this account banking, let's remove the joint account. So we cancel the joint account, and in the whole 3 months or 2 months that the account existed in our name, again I never got access to debit card, never got access to any of the information related to that account except one paper which had the bank account number. And right now, because I have moved countries, I don't remember if I have thrown that information away or if I have access to that information, but it was a banking accounting that was done in Chase Bank. Then the next bank they did a banking was in Patelco Bank, and in that Patelco Bank, and again, being a naive person, this was, even though this was a red flag, the red flag clicked for me only when the divorce proceedings or after the divorce happened. Before that, the red flag didn't register for me because I was a very financially naive person, even though I had business degree and everything, and I'm a very simple person. So for me, these things didn't click. Like, if you don't think about manipulating another person's money or utilizing another person's money, you're not going to think in a way in which, if you don't think like that, are you going to sit and think that someone else is going to cheat you? Most probably you are not going to think like that, right? So when you're a simpler person, or you do not understand that the world can have these kind of people in it, you just trust. Most of the time you trust, and once the trust gets broken, that's when you finally realize what was going on there, right? So which is what happened. Slowly the trust and red flags unraveled in the whole marital journey, wherein now with that second account, there were some checks that were given by, again, mostly by their family, because in that wedding, a few of my friends had attended that wedding, few of my cousins had attended that wedding, but 90% of the guests who attended that wedding came from the other my husband's family. So 90% of the 90 or 80% of the gifts were from their family. So their family had also given large checks in name of either in my name or in our joint names. Some checks were given to us, and some gift cards were given. And in the gift cards, now the gift cards I use partly for my own purchases, partly for my in-law. I gave some gifts to my in-laws, so like that I used away all the wedding gift cards. And then, but all the major jewelry that his family gave, all the major checks that his family had given, and they were huge amount checks, like $5,000, $100, $500, like those amount checks were there. And there were multiple checks. At that time I had kept an account also of the gifts I had received, because I had personally thanked everyone for the gifts they gave, for whatever, for simply attending the wedding. Everyone who attended, I had personally sent them a thank you card for whatever they had done. So at that point of time, when I sent a thank you card to everyone, I had also written who had given what gift, to thank them personally for what they had gifted. So at a time I had kept a record. Now I don't know whether I have that record with me or not. But what happened with that gift also was that all the checks, major financial gifts of that wedding was all kept by them, all the access was given to them. My father-in-law had told that all the checks that you have, instead of depositing it all in one go, deposit it once in a week or once a month or something. And because all the checks were given to my husband, and because the bank was there in California and I was living in Utah, I never operated that account for 5-6 months after that account was created. And in those 5-6 months also, only one time I had gone to deposit a check with them, and in that check, it was like a $900 check or something that was deposited, or 2 checks were deposited. I don't remember right now, but it was what happened was, in 6 months time, the divorce related things started happening, separation related things started happening. And when the divorce was getting finalized, at that time they submitted a bank statement showing that the account has $900. But again, in those 5-6 months that the account was being operated, before the bank statement was shown from that account, I don't know what happened to the thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars of checks that they had received as we had received as wedding gifts. Whether they deposited the money, used up the money, what they did with that money, I don't know, because I never used the money. I never used that account. I never got access to using that account. I had only the account number information and nothing else. And then during the divorce proceedings, there was a little bit of a tiff that happened between us, where even though they agreed to signing a particular thing, there were some mistakes in the document that I wanted them to change, that the terminologies used in that document were false terminologies, were not something that was the right thing that transpired between us. They were not ready to change it to the right wordings. There were some typing errors also. So whatever errors were there, some were real errors and some were deliberately planted things that they wanted to write falsely in that thing. So, but even though they wanted to write falsely in that thing, I had still, agreed. I'm like, I don't know what, once, when you go through this experience, it's also very energetically draining when someone starts doing these manipulations and things like that with you. So I got very energetically drained, financially drained, emotionally drained, and then at that time they cancelled my green card also. So then I had to also think about, should I come back to India? What do I do? I consulted some lawyers. They'd given me another alternative route of staying in US, but at that time I was too tired. The other alternative was again joining another degree program for studies, but I was exhausted by then. Like, I enjoyed my MBA program and MHA program, but I was very burnt out at that time, emotionally burnt out, physically burnt out, and financially burnt out. So I knew that I couldn't, financially, I literally had hardly any money in my account. In fact, in the last few months of my life in US, I had to borrow $5,000 from my brother to pay for my last few months of expenses in US, because of the fact that even though I got married, I didn't have any financial support from my husband, any financial sharing from my husband, any financial, even equitable sharing from my husband of simply the gifts that they had accrued in the wedding as a result of the wedding. And then apart from that, and this is the only place where my dad didn't do financial abuse. Again, my dad is the kind where if the outside world asks you to pay money, he will pay. So when they asked him to pay some money for the wedding that had happened, he partly paid for that wedding. So this is the only place where my dad paid for the wedding expenses. So our family paid 50% for the wedding, even though 20% of the guest was also not from my side. 20 or yeah, I think about 20% or 30%, handful of guests were from, like, there were only maybe 10 or 15 guests from my side, and there were like around 45 guests or something from their side. So this imbalance in guests, and it's not that I wanted an expensive US wedding. I was ready for an Indian wedding, but they did all these things simply to establish that the wedding has happened, to establish and simply for the financial aspect only. Because during the divorce, they even though I tried to convince them that you have to put it in these papers that now that we are divorced, the joint account should be closed between us and things like that. There were many things I tried to do to protect myself and ask for legal ways in which to fix the problems related to abuse and to fix it in a very minimal and easy manner. But they didn't allow it to be fixed in a minimal and easy manner. They didn't allow the closing of the bank account. Then one thing that they had agreed on the day I met his lawyers, that agreement which was verbally agreed by them about signing the documents, that document also they were not ready to sign. They wanted to oppress me into continuously harass me into staying into US life and continue when I don't have, they know I don't have finances, they know I don't have many deep family life also there. So they knew I was graduating from my classes. Despite all these things, they were coercing me into going through either saying no to this divorce or going for a long proceeding of divorce and all sorts of crap. So all these, I was literally feeling very emotionally and psychologically and mentally harassed and drained, and financially I was completely drained at that time. So I after consulting a few lawyers, I just left US signing the false document that was agreed upon and came back to India. But in that false document only, the account that had $900, it had initially in that account had said that half of the money, not half, like $435 or something was the amount that I should get access to. They will give me access to that for paying for the court costs of this divorce proceedings, because there was some court costs associated with registering the divorce and things like that. So I said, I was agreeing to that the account has $900. I didn't even ask for half the share, 435. I was like fine with it. But when they were refusing to sign the documents, I had got a little bit pissed off. So I had gone there in the bank, and that is the only time I operated that bank. I gone to a different location of the bank than the original location, because I was doing some law research at that time and the law library was near there. So in that different location, and I didn't want to trespass on my friend's hospitality. So my friend had dropped me to that law library, and from that law library I had gone to the bank. And in the bank I decided I have legal right to have 50% access to this account. So if it has $900, I picked up $450 from that account at that time. And at that time, the legal documents hadn't been signed by anyone. Legal divorce hadn't happened. So legally, I had, I should be able to operate that account, right? And they had not even legally agreed to close the account in front of their own lawyer. They refused to close the account, even though I had asked them, can you accompany me to this bank and close our joint account? They didn't do it. They refused to do it in front of lawyer and other witnesses. And then in both from his family and my family side, and then when I came to but when I consulted with some lawyers, the lawyers said in the original document that they were ready to sign, it was not $450, it was $435. So you give back the $15 back to them, which is what I did. I signed the legal document that they originally agreed to in front of their lawyer, gave them back the extra $15 that I had withdrawn from that account as a check, and just left US after that. Because again, I didn't want this harassment related to this family. I didn't want to continue like wasting my time and energy and resources and thoughts and education and my life on putting energy towards a wasteful cause. And though I knew I was getting oppressed and abused, and I researched at that time the laws related to abuse, but they were all very borderline abuse, because this marriage had only lasted 6 months, and in that 6 months also like the separation had happened within about 6 months of the marriage, 6-7 months, and a little longer than 6 months. And in those 6 months I had 5 or 6 times only met with my husband's family. It was not worth it for me. It was not worth it. But because I know this is a pattern, I understood, I was guided by God at that time, that I understood that a person who does these things, they are habitually going to keep doing it to other victims. So in my statement to when I filed for the divorce, in my statement I gave to the I had written a whole written document, whether I hope that got recorded by the judge in their justice system, legal system, but I had given a whole written statement about how financially abuse was going on, or what was financially going on related to that marriage. And then in recent years, I want to again, I saw a case in newspaper recently about a family who has duped many people who might be related to this family. I felt, I don't know why, intuitively I felt they are either this same family's information that I'm reading in the news, because the news article didn't mention the names of the parties involved in that divorce. But the whole pattern of abuse in that marriage also resonated very much with my own marriage. And I know this was the information about a family in Pune that came in the newspaper, where a woman from Pune has filed, and she's also a financially educated woman. She was in her second marriage, and this guy's, it was the way the terminology has been written in the newspaper article, it seems as if he had had 3 divorces. Now, whether the 3 divorces they're talking about includes the divorce of the Pune wife, or is about 3 previous divorces prior to this Pune wife, these are the things judges need to keep into consideration when a habitual abuser of women is getting away with abuse of women. That woman was trying to get 50% access rights to her husband's property, but she was not given the access rights to the husband's property simply because in India men have started thinking that in India that they were, I don't know whether they got married in India, whether they got married in US, but the girl lives in Pune. The guys, my ex-husband's families, some contacts also live in Pune, this much I know. So I don't know if this guy is related to that ex-husband's family, whether this is a completely different guy from Pune, but many things about this woman's life resonated with mine, and that is why also I'm making this video, because for her also financial manipulation, financial abuse, emotional torture, all these things also people should account for when giving a woman an alimony. It is not about taking someone's money, but what about the man who has taken our money when we didn't have any money, when we were socially vulnerable, financially vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable? What about the manipulation that happens to women? What about the ruined life? Because this guy, imagine now if he has had 3 or 4 marriages, including this marriage, I don't know whether it's 3 or 4 total marriages. He could have had more than 4 marriages also, because there are men who also abuse the systems to go and get married in different countries to different women. Those kind of men also exist, and they get away with abusing women consistently again and again. So for repeat serial offenders of women who have repeatedly abused women, and I'm pretty sure like this is the wife who is at least, because she is finance savvy, she has at least found the assets related to her spouse that the other women possibly never even investigated. I never investigated anything related to my husband's assets. So if in that divorce filing he has not included all the assets that he is eligible for, I wouldn't know again. And he knows that much. I know that that family is financially very savvy, much more savvier than me, because even though I have done business degree, their family not only practices actively business law, US business law, Indian business law, they are very much financially know also how to manipulate the financial system. So that's why all these things also judges need to put into consideration. No lawyer in India puts into consideration when financial abuse of a wife is going on, or financial oppression of a wife and a child is going on, or multiple other like if a person has abused multiple wives like this, and for basically what they have done is they've used a joint account in my name to now channel money also in their name. So let's imagine now, I don't know whether this guy's Pune guy's information is the same guy as my ex-husband, but let's say he is the same guy as my ex-husband. Then even though this girl has now investigated the assets her husband has, and let's say the husband's name is Mr. X. Now if the account Mr. X married me and Mr. X married another woman from finance, and if Mr. X is got married me plus some other women in the past, and he has created 3-4 joint bank accounts in the spouse's name, Mr. X operates all the spouse's accounts in his name. And if he has spouse 1, 2, 3 before he met the 4th spouse, now in the spouse 1's name he has let's say a Chase bank account, in spouse 2's name he has a joint account in Patelco, in spouse 3's name he has joint bank account in Bank 1, in spouse spouse 4's name, which is the fourth spouse from India. They have a joint bank account in India. Now in all these 4 spouses names, while she is trying to now investigate a crime or asking auditors to investigate a crime, if the auditors are not aware of the fact that this family has a habitual pattern of abusing women, financially using women to create bank accounts in their name, where the women never get access to the bank accounts. If all of these information is not there, that bank account is not there, is primarily in my name, the Patelco account, but except for $450 withdrawn from that account and one time deposit done in that account, I never ever operated that account in the years since it was created in 2014. So this thing, people need to understand that these things are happening to women, these things are happening to children. They could, if let's say they go and they have a wife also somewhere where they also have a child, if they were a person like my dad, they have also abused the child also, possibly they might even have an account in a child's name also, which they are operating. And so if this, and in the case of the Pune woman, she found like 500 crore or 5000 crore. As I said, I financially, I don't remember all the details, but it was a huge amount that she found in her husband's name. But is it just the huge amount that she has found in her husband's name? Is it just Mr. X's account that she has discovered, or has she discovered Mr. X plus Mr. X's spouse 1, Mr. X's spouse 2, Mr. X's spouse 3, Mr. X's spouse 4 plus child's account as well? Because if those accounts have not been discovered, he has done even more financial abuse of multiple women. And if he has been operating those accounts in name of those women, now those women financially might look like a privileged women because there might be 100 crore sitting in their account. But if I don't have a, if me or a child's account has been created and there is 100 crore created for a spouse 1, spouse 2, spouse 3, but none of those spouses got even 5 rupees in alimony, or got even $5,000 in alimony, or even knew that there was an account with this much money that they legally should have had access to, and legally, not just legally, they also financially should have access to, because if a joint account has been created in your name, you are financially legally responsible for that account, right? So if they have accrued 500 crore debt in someone's name, whatever they have done, they could have accrued debt, they could have accrued deposited a lot of money, they could have used those accounts for some illegal activities. Whatever they have done, they could have just unethically retained money legally, that should go to someone, but is not able to go to someone because they are unethically retaining that money. All of these things they could have done. And while the women are legally or ethically or financially, or just because of their abuse, eligible for certain things, they can't get that eligibility, they can't get that access, they don't even have access to their accounts even for some of those people. And this is something I really want people to think about, because these are all the places in which women and children face financial abuse, financial oppression, financial manipulation, and they can get trapped into legal challenges that they have zero clue is happening behind their back, legal or financial challenges that is happening behind their back, which they have no idea about, because they never created such accounts, they never operated such accounts, they never even knew that something like this could be happening about them related to their accounts. And the only reason I am able to understand these things is because God has guided me about it. This is a very spiritual thing that has happened. Legally, I have not investigated anyone. Financially, I have not investigated anyone. But intuitively, I can tell you this has been happening behind my back. Both some manipulation done by my alleged father and other alleged family, and some manipulation done by this ex-husband who has operated now an account in my name where I have zero clue about that account. I don't even live in that country to operate that account. In that country, I have my own account that I have zero accounting. I have not been able to operate that account simply because I was too sick, too ill, didn't have the time, energy, resource to go and pursue something where too much time, energy, resources will be drained. When you are sick, you cannot do all these things also. So There are many things like that, women like me go through. And then eventually, if I die also, now it's necessary for me to, I'm speaking up about these issues, because if I die, there will be a huge whole set of things that needs to be resolved by people before I die or after I die. Because otherwise people will not understand, those who are simple people, they will not understand how legal manipulation, financial abuse is done of women. And if those people are now judges in the justice system, they will again get manipulated, and again another victim will be created, and this guy will keep abusing this guy, or guys like him, guys like my husband, guys like my father will keep creating all these systems where they're accumulating and accruing a lot of money. They're doing no social good. This is another aspect I want people to understand. People don't understand that if a business savvy woman, or a generous woman, or a woman who has been abused greatly gets even 50% access of a abuser's property or a manipulator's property, the amount of good they can do with that money is 100 times more good they can do with that same money than what an abuser has been doing with that money. While this abuser having 500,000 crores of money is using that money for illegal activities, someone who is oppressed and abused and financially disadvantaged, or financially and socially disadvantaged, or psychologically has been manipulated by many, or has been emotionally gaslighted, manipulated and oppressed by their family and other society, they, being the oppressed one, being the financially challenged one, being the one who understands what it means to have financial challenges, they have the capacity to be more generous. They have the capacity to equitably distribute the money that they have legal rights to, and equitably distribute it. And most women, I'm not saying all women are ethical, but if a ethical woman gets that money, if a woman with some morals, ethics, or at least savviness of understanding where to invest the money appropriately, gets access to those rights, they will be, she's not a greedy woman. According to me, the women who discovered this level of scam that her spouse is doing, she is also, if she gets half the assets of that spouse, she can use those assets to meaningfully create an organization that can now help other abused women like her, other psychologically and financially manipulated women like her. Whether she will do it or not, I don't know. That is something the judge will have to decide. Or but a justice system can also create a system like that, that why are you thinking, if a husband is hiding his assets, should he be hiding? Does a man also need 500 crore money in their bank account if they are never going to do anything? Like the reason why Indian judges and lawyers are telling women that don't be greedy, or do not ask for half the share of your husband's properties, because he is the one who is actually doing all the mehnat for that money. But is he really doing that mehnat for the money? Have you investigated whether he's doing an illegal activity? Have you investigated whether he duped millions of women or hundreds of women for their money? Have you investigated whether they did some IT scam? That person could be similar to a person like Malaya, who's sitting outside India. All the scamsters who do these $5,000 scam and all these scams, he could be a scamster like that also. So instead of you don't want to give the wife money, fine, but also investigate that guy who's hiding from the wife, might have hidden from many other dependents also, who need that money, who need that appropriate redistribution of money. And if a divorce case has brought it to light, so what? Something has brought the whole hidden thing to light. So now use that into utilizing the money appropriately. There could be thousands of people whose life savings got used away by this guy, which now needs to be redistributed to those victims as well. So if for that reason, if you are not giving the wife money, I understand. But if you are not giving the money simply because she's asking for 50% share, why shouldn't she ask for 50% share? Because if this guy is indeed my ex-husband, or someone related to his family who lives in US, and in a US state where 50% legal rights should go to the wife as per law, and as per certain law, not just 50% of everything, but 50%. If she was married for 2 years worth of his incomes, 50% should go to the wife, is the law of California. So if he is the same guy who I married, she needs to have access to that 50% of his assets percentage, certain percentage. But and this is another thing, many guys falsely interpret the law, many people falsely interpret law also. Right interpretation of the all the things related to law also needs to start happening in India and outside India. Because why do you think, if he is someone who lives in US and in a place like California where 50% legal rights go to the wife, at that time if he is filing a case in India, he has already coerced the and manipulated the wife into doing something which is at a disadvantage for her, and her case should be rejected in Indian law and should be allowed to be pursued according to American laws. If he was still while being married, if he was continuously living in California, or majority of the time living in California, or majority of the time doing work where he got pay from California, because these are all possible for someone in IT. This is what my husband did. He wanted to manipulate system, and he has been manipulating this, his ex-husband, or he's been manipulating the system like this for many years. And not just him, many guys in IT, many guys in tech have been manipulating systems like this. The third reason I'm making this video is about that guy who in Uttarakhand or Uttar Pradesh, there's a big uproar going on. He left a 25-page document about committing suicide and giving false, according to me it is false allegation he has provided in that document related to suicide. I'm 90% convinced that that guy is not dead. I'm 90% convinced that he faked his death, and he faked this, fakely created a 25-page document about suicide. Because the moment someone is suicidal, they don't have the time to write 25-page documents, or the moment you start writing a 25-page document, universe will automatically stop you from being suicidal. So it is not logically, emotionally, psychologically possible for someone to commit suicide. If you are that logical, you will not have the suicidal tendency only. If you're that logical, that calculating, that methodical, you just don't have the genes only to commit suicide, and the psychological nature only to commit suicide. Someone who commits suicide is not going to methodically know how to solve their problems, not going to know methodically how to verbalize all the things that are going wrong in their life, will be very much perplexed about how to resolve their issues, will be in a dire state where they do not have actually financial, psychological or other control of many parameters related to their life's challenges. That is the person who gets suicidal. Someone who has 40 lakh salary doesn't get suicidal, especially if you can use that 40 lakh salary to fake your death and move away to a different country, or live in your different country under a different name. And that person who has 40 lakh salary and who has accrued 40 lakh salary for many years, and who also works in IT, who also works in tech industry, they can very easily change their Aadhaar card also if they have hacking skills, if they have contacts who will just take some extra money from them to hack into a system. Like, how much do Aadhaar employees get paid? They hardly get paid any salary. For he can't pay a Aadhaar employee 50,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 5 lakh rupees, whatever money he can pay someone, minimal amount of money, maximum amount of money, to screw over a wife, where otherwise legally he will have to pay his wife 20 lakh rupees. So do you understand how business savvy and those methodical people, they are that business savvy enough? And IT people, you can't work in IT if you're not methodical, if you don't know how to step by step build a story. So that guy who is in IT is very much capable of step by step building a false story about his abuse, and falsely now alleging that his wife and his in-laws were harassing him, when the reality is he was harassing his wife and his in-laws. His wife hadn't filed a false case. If you look also at the face only of the wife, you will see how much emotionally, psychologically, and now financially and legally she's getting harassed based on a 25-page false methodical document of a alleged suicider. Because a methodical person, IT person, 90% will not be capable of doing what is being alleged. He has not committed suicide. People need to wake up to the level of manipulation some clever criminals are capable of doing. And if people don't wake up to this, our government systems will continue creating more and more scamsters who will get away. Then this is also a 40 lakh person guy. He's creating a lakh worth of scams. He will again now get married to another woman, harass another woman's life, create. And once a criminal gets away with doing one criminal activity very easily, they are also capable of continuously doing that same level of abuse or higher level of that same thing again and again with other people as well. This guy of the Pune woman, the husband of the Pune woman, he has been married 3 times previously, and for 3 times he has likely 2 or 3 times previously, and in all those times he got away with scamming those women. He got away with possibly not even paying them, even though he still had legally in his bank account 500 crore or 100 crore or some great amount of money, but he got away without paying any alimony or hardly 1% of the alimony that he was legally and financially, and because of abuse he was technically eligible to pay, but nothing they got for their justice. So please do not create another injustice for this Pune woman now by not supporting her or by supporting her in a false way. And not just this Pune woman, but every woman like that. And just because she can get by, many women can get by. I have been living with 20,000, 30,000 spending only in the last 3 years, because I've been searching for a place where I can have some better health conditions and safety, that I have spent a little bit more than lakhs of rupees of money in the last 3 years of my life. But before that, in the 7 years I was living here in India, I am very, because I didn't have salary, because I was not earning regularly, I was hardly spending 20,000 rupees a month on myself and on my maids, and I would have spent more if I had access to more money. But if I don't have access to more money, if I don't have access to income, I can't spend when I know in the future 2-3 months or 2-3 years I have no one to depend on financially for my future life. So if I have only myself to depend on, and there are these people who target women, they target women like me only. They target the women, they are those who are methodically able to create and build a IT network. They are also methodically able to create and build a whole background history of a person that they want to target to abuse them in the future. I'm pretty sure he targeted this finance related lady also in Pune for some reason, to do some finance related garbad. As I said, if he is my ex-husband's family's relative, or he is my ex-husband, they have a whole set of criminal network both in Pune, both in US, and now they were trying to channel money in Pune via her. So she has not done anything wrong, and please do not consider her as a greedy woman. She was just trying to do some right things, I believe. I don't know, but or they were trying to manipulate her into doing some wrong things. That is when she finally understood what is going on. And she was also not as unaware as other, because they might have underestimated her and thought because she's a divorcee she will back down, but she didn't back down. And it's time for women to not back down against all these abusers. It's time for men who want to really support justice. If you're working in the justice system, legal system, police system, do not listen to you might be abused by your wife in your home life, doesn't mean that a sociopath will not use your abuse against you. Have you watched the movie Gone Girl? In Gone Girl, the girl was the psychopath and sociopath there, but she understands, when she killed Desi's, the character played by I forgot his name, but she murders one of her ex-boyfriends, and while murdering him she utilizes the story of sexual abuse of her to manipulate the system into thinking she was being sexually abused and things like that. I have not read the book of Gone Girl, but psychological manipulators do this. They use the abuse story. Actual abuse of victim was her boyfriend who died, and he was abuse and murder victim, but she manipulated the whole story to make it seem as if she was the abuse and murder victim or intended murder victim. And same way this guy has also done it, the one in with the 40 lakh salary, who has written a 25-page suicide report. Same is also likely 90% true, or he has spun a false narrative in front of the judges and is manipulating the system into hiding many illegal things that he is also doing, most probably. And all these illegal things that my ex-husband's family was doing, I didn't realize when I was married to them, but only after I got out of the marriage. Many things, you're when you are in marriage or tied to someone emotionally, even if it was brief emotional tie, you have scales around your eyes, so you don't get to see the details. Or and especially if you're getting abused also continuously at that same time, the scales are so high in front of you that it takes you a while. It took me 10 years to process that illegal activities were also being done by that family. So I hope this will prove insightful to someone, and that's why I've created this video. People, in Christmas time, I wanted to make it about Christmas also, but maybe I'll make a next video about that. But abuse of women is something, if you want to make a change in Christmas time for women, for children, for the future of humanity, you understand that the more you support the people who are the real abusers, the more you oppress the life conditions of people who are being oppressed. You do not bring real justice to those people. You prevent the justice of those people, as well as future justice of others who could also be impacted by someone who has gone through a lot. Because when you go through a lot, you also have a capacity to understand the plight of other people who are going through a lot, and you also have the capacity to help those people as well in the future. But all these people's help routes are stopped when you do not help the right person, and instead continuously keep helping and aiding and getting hoodwinked by the manipulators of systems. So I hope this was meaningful and beneficial. Thank you very much. Have a great day.